So what are the overarching themes, energies, circumstances coming up for Virgo in the month of October 2025? Joyous fun in reverse. Oh, Virgo. Joyous fun in reverse. Right, so you feel like the time for games, for play is over, okay? So you're getting very serious about something in your life, okay? So it makes sense, you know, you may be going back to work, studies, okay, education, something like that. But it's like you're taking your responsibilities extremely seriously, okay? Maybe a little bit too much, Virgo, okay? So again, it's important to have balance. Of course, you want to make sure that you're doing what you need to do, okay? But you don't want to also sacrifice your happiness in the process. Yeah, Angels of the Four Directions is in reverse, okay? So it's almost like you've reverted back to a way of being in some capacity, okay? So there could be something about your work-life balance being off, okay? Your work-life balance could be off in the month of October because you're serious about, you know, getting ish done. But again, you do need time to just be happy, joyful, to just relax, to just have some unwinding time, downtime as well. Okay, so it's almost like you started to implement that, but then you reverted back to just being like about all work. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So tell me about this energy for Virgo, please. Tell me about this energy for Virgo. Yeah, Queen of Cups in reverse, right? Queen of Cups in reverse. So on some level, you may be emotionally shut down, okay? Because it's like you've got your pragmatic hat on, right? You feel like, okay, I've got to be practical, I've got to be methodical, I've got to get this done, that done, right? Responsibilities. But you have responsibility to yourself as well when it comes to your emotional fulfillment. You know, and what about spending quality time with your loved ones as well? That is just as crucial. So you could be sacrificing that for the sake of wanting to get certain things done, okay? So I do feel like there's going to be a reminder of that lesson, right? Because you have learned this, but you've kind of reverted back to an old way of being and operating, okay? Yeah, Five of Swords in reverse. This energy's been coming up a lot. And I wanted to say this with that Queen of Cups, but now this is here. It's just confirmation. It's like you feel like you can't delegate, right? You can't trust, like, say, for example, if you're, like, it's giving mother hen energy for sure, like, especially with this Queen of Cups, like, look at it, right? Mother hen energy, like, if I don't do it, nothing's going to get done in this house, right? If I don't do it, nothing's going to get done at work. So let me just do it. Just get out of my way and let me do it, right? But again, that's not the point, right? The lesson was that you give people the opportunity to step up, right? And you do your fair share. But it's not about you taking on board everything, right? But the more you do this, the less likely this will change, right? So if you feel like people are still slacking on their responsibilities, you need to double down on that, stand 10 toes down on that, not slip back into this old pattern where you feel like you need to do everything yourself, okay? Because again, that creates an imbalance in your, you know, interpersonal relationships, working relationships, whatever the case may be. Your work-life balance gets affected, okay? You'll get cranky, you don't have downtime, you don't get to rest, you're not going to be operating your best. It has a knock-on effect, right? You see, it's like a dominoes effect. So it's really important that you don't revert back into this way of operating because it doesn't serve anyone, not just you, but anyone else either, okay? There needs to be some kind of balance here. Tell me more for Virgo. Yeah, Four of Cups in the upright. Yeah, this isn't what you want. That's the thing. It's not that you want to do this, but you feel like you have to do this. But it doesn't make you happy, especially with that Queen of Cups in reverse, right? That doesn't make you happy. And the fact that you feel like you have to do this could actually lead to you having some kind of resentment or not even want to spend time with these people, right? Because you feel like everything is falling on your shoulders. So again, it will negatively impact your relationships with those people, whether it's work, friendships, relationships within family dynamics, right? A partnership, a romantic relationship. It will have a negative impact. So that's why you can't revert to this way of being, okay? Because it will negatively impact everything and everyone. Yeah, exactly. You have the King of Swords and the Strength card. And that's it, you know. And people know what they need to do. It's not that people are stupid. They know what they need to do, okay? But the thing is, because you're always wanting to get things done your way, or you feel like you have to be the one to do it to ensure it gets done, people do hold back, right? And the thing is, if you are constantly demonstrating, like, I can do everything by myself, I don't need you, people must feel obsolete. Like, why am I even here to begin with, right? If you don't need me. People actually do want to be needed, right? But if you're constantly showing them that they're not, they're going to believe that they're not and just let you get on with it, right? Even if you say otherwise. It's like, well, but then you just keep doing it. So what am I supposed to do? Do I do it or do I not do it? You know? But especially if this is like a family, right? If you have children or you have a romantic partner, they want to be needed. They want to be included. They want to feel like this is a partnership, that they have a role to play. But you have to reinforce that. You can't reinforce that if you keep taking that role on board yourself, right? So you've got to give people a chance to step up and demonstrate that they can do it, that they have an important role to play. Because people do want to feel valued and needed, right? They do. Yeah, Seven of Swords, but you don't realize that by every time you do that and you step back into that way of being and operating, you self-sabotage. And it also sabotages these relationships because people don't get a chance again to fulfill their role or to feel like they're part of it. And it's not that you're doing it maliciously. You're doing it because you care, right? But it's just counterintuitive, that's all. It's counterproductive as well. So that's all it is, you know. But yeah, if you go back to finding this balance again, and again, allowing people to do their part, allowing the universe to do what it does as well. There's cases, right? There are situations in your life, Virgo, where you don't even trust the universe to do what it does. You don't even trust the universe, right? Like, that wheel ain't turning. Get out of the way. Let me do it myself. Let me turn this wheel myself. Oh, Virgo. You don't even trust the universe, right? The ebb and flow of things, right? The cosmic forces at play. You're like, no, let me do it. You don't know what you're doing. Wow. The need to control because you don't trust anything outside of yourself. Yeah. But that's what needs to change. Yeah. That's what needs to change. But I feel like the fact that you're aware of this, okay, you are going to change it. You've done it before, you'll do it again, okay? Because this ties into a reading I've done for you in the past, right? So I know that you have invoked a change here. But again, it requires consistent effort. It requires that when you do find yourself slipping into old habits, behaviors, tendencies, right, ways of operating, that you course correct. And that's what this Wheel of Fortune is reminding you, that it's up to you to course correct when you realize that you're slipping back into old ways of being, old patterns of behavior, right? And you do that, you're going to see a positive change, okay? So, Virgo, quite funny reading, actually, in one way. But trust me, you've got this, okay? It's always weird at first. It always feels a bit clunky. It doesn't feel natural, organic, but it will. The more you implement it, right, the more it will feel natural to you, right? A natural way of doing things, of operating, okay? But again, it takes time, and you have to constantly reinforce that, okay? Yeah, but I know you know. It's important to get these reminders sometimes, okay? Yeah, because it will help you. It will help you find your equilibrium again. So you've got this, Virgo, okay? I hope that does Help. Yeah, exactly. You got to take it one step at a time, right? Step by step.